So then I invite Finn Skårderud, psychiatrist of Norway. You know what? I think that maybe one of the reasons I am doing this is because of you.
Wow, yeah. Well, or as we psychiatrists say more about that, yes.
How do you feel just now, actually? How
Well, after a compliment like this, I'm very satisfied, actually, yes.
So what's happening? Yeah, what's happening inside you?
Inside? No, that's a very complicated question because I don't think that people, no emotions necessarily are placed one place. I mean, in a way, they're all over. I mean, I have to just follow up something because you have been asking lots of times about the soul. And I like that because people don't use that concept that much anymore because it's the mind and the brain we talk about. And I think I'm missing the soul a bit because I think the soul is a bit wider and deeper and higher than the mind. The mind belongs to doctors and the brain to also to doctors, but the soul belongs to anybody in a way, to everybody.
What happened? How come that we kind of lost the soul? What?
I do not have answers for everything, but actually I think this is very easy to answer. That something called being rational turned into the world. I mean, we threw out the priests and in came the doctors and the psychologists. And we are using so-called science. So this is a kind of modern secular scientific world. And then we use very strict concepts like the mind instead of the soul. I mean, Sigmund Freud, he called himself a Seelenarzt. That means a soul doctor. If you as a psychiatrist said, I'm a soul doctor, people would think, what has happened to Melanie now? Because in a way, I think it's a good idea to revitalize that concept. Yeah.
What happened with the coronacrisis and the rationalism and the irrationalism?
Well, one aspect is that lots of people are trying to be hyper-rational in the sense of understanding, counting, being statistics, being an epidemiologist.
There you go.
Are the Swedes better than the Norwegians, etc., etc. So we are trying to fetch this in an extreme rationalist way. The other aspect I find quite interesting, since you speak about body and soul. I mean, lots of our meetings now are not using 5 senses, but mainly 2 senses. That means eyes and ears.
Yeah, we come back to that.
And actually, it's not eyes, because in Zoom or Teams, I cannot look into your eyes. Probably I look into the picture of myself in Teams. Yeah. And I'm not particularly happy for that pictures.
No, I understand why you don't like the digital video conference.
Yes, and it's interesting that makeup has been one of the things that people have bought more of during this crisis, probably because they see themselves in these terrible Skype and Zoom pictures. But we cannot have the eye-to-eye gaze, and in self that's quite important, I think. I mean, the first thing a mother and child do, or a child do the first day in their life, is trying to find other faces and eyes to look into. And that's the way we also develop ourselves. And we find trust, we find somebody, there is somebody there. And we cannot do it because the technology does something.
What about for you, this digital thing? What do you feel about it?
Okay, I'm kind of torn actually, because I'm born in the year 2000, and we kind of like, I remember when internet wasn't as cool, but like for most of my life it's been pretty cool. So I'm fortunate in that way. So we kind of like been trained all our life to, for example, not see each other in public anymore, but talk over the phone. But trying to maintain that has been kind of hard for me, because I don't know. I find a lot of myself in other people, and I experienced that when I couldn't find myself in other people, I was kind of like not finding myself. I was kind of lost.
This is not a video conference that you have with some of your patients. This is like, what's happening now?
No, I prefer these kinds of encounters, definitely, yes. Not necessarily on the scene with the audience, but in general. And I think it's perhaps more important than we are aware of. And it was a very bright American psychiatrist called Daniel Stern. He wrote about vitality, being vital as people. And he once wrote that why doesn't the infant understand language and speak the first year? And he says it's probably because they have more important things to do. And that is to learn the different kinds of communications we have, micro communications, milliseconds.
Yeah, and to come back to kind of just the bodies we've been seeing in the streets the last days. We have seen a lot of bodies coming together, people that had to meet together physically to demonstrate. It was not enough with a digital demonstration. What do you think that is about?
I think it's about what we're discussing. I mean, we need to be quite close. So I find it quite logic that people, they say they respect the rules, but of course, they don't. But in a way, I think, no, we need that kind of commonship in a way. It's very, very logic in a way, yes.
And I want to take this, because you're both psychiatrists, and you spoke to a lot of people, and you heard how a lot of people feel, and you, I would at least believe you know maybe some of the origins of where feeling comes from. I wonder, why do people hate each other?
I think a part of it, I mean, we are born with some primary emotional systems, and aggression is one of those systems, like caring is another system. But I think very much of the hate is actually about culture. Like racism is about culture. It's not me hating you, it's that there are systems which are about power in many, many ways, and power is also about economy, etc., etc. So I think we have to have the cultural aspect of this. Sometimes it might seem extremely easy if we as a group start to hate another group. It's easier for us to have a kind of group sensation. I mean, I think we have to not see this only psychologically, but also sociologically, and see the person keep himself up by holding other down and the other resist it. I mean, some of these people, they just, they are destroyed in a way, because that's the whole idea, is to make a hierarchy of things.
Floorknights, we're going to need you on this stage right now.